Diving into Naval's insights is so valuable. He's got this way of cutting through all the noise and getting straight to the core principles.
Totally. Yeah. No fluff.
Yeah.
So we're doing a deep dive into his how to get rich wisdom today. Naval always keeps it real, no sugarcoating.
Right.
One of the first things that really hit me was how he redefines wealth itself.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just about having a massive bank account, right?
You got it. It's not just about the money, right?
Yeah.
He makes this really important distinction between simply having money and building actual wealth.
Okay, so what is it then?
Think of it more like assets that work for you, generating value even while you sleep.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So it's less about that make it rain mentality and more about creating a system that works in your favor even when you're not constantly hustling.
Exactly. It's a crucial mindset shift. You're not just chasing paychecks. When you focus on building wealth, you start thinking differently. You think about ownership, about leverage, about generating that long-term value.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like, I don't know, like the difference between renting a car versus owning a fleet of delivery trucks.
I like that.
One is temporary convenience. The other is you're building a business.
That's a great analogy. And, Naval, he takes it a step further. He warns us about the dangers of the status trap.
Oh, right. The never-ending game of trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Exactly. And that can be a real killer of actually building wealth.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine, picture a lawyer, right?
Yep.
Constantly chasing prestige. They're working crazy hours to make partner just to, outdo their peers. They might have a huge income, but are they truly wealthy? I mean, if they're miserable, if they're trading their time for money.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it sounds more like a gilded cage than like a path to freedom.
It can be, yeah. Instead of getting caught in that zero-sum game of status, where there's always a winner and a loser, Naval says we should be focusing on positive-sum opportunities.
Okay, but what's that?
These are situations where everyone benefits. Collaboration is key. Value creation is the name of the game.
Oh, I love that. So it's less like fighting for scraps and more like we're all in this together.
Exactly. Building a thriving ecosystem instead of fighting over, a limited pie. And you know what? This actually ties into this beautiful concept of compounding.
Compounding, like with investments.
Yes.
Yeah.
As Naval points out, it's not just for your investment portfolio.
Okay.
It's much broader than that.
Okay.
Think about it. Those small daily choices we make, like learning a new skill or, nurturing a relationship.
Yeah.
These things can lead to exponential growth over time.
Okay, so like small steps, big results.
Precisely. And this brings us to this idea of building your skill stack. It's like, what's your unique combination of knowledge and abilities that will set you apart on this journey to building wealth?
And it all starts with what Naval calls specific knowledge, right? So tell me more about that. That sounds interesting.
It is fascinating. Think of it as like knowing something that other people don't. Not just following the crowd or chasing trendy industries,
Okay.
but really delving into your genuine passions, those things you're naturally drawn to.
So it's less about chasing the next big thing and more about becoming the go-to expert in something you genuinely love.
You got it. It's about cultivating that intellectual competitive advantage. And remember, Naval's own path is a great example. He actually started out wanting to be an astrophysicist.
Oh, wow.
But his journey led him to the tech world, and that's where he really thrived.
That's such a good point. Life throws these curveballs, and sometimes the most unexpected path, that's the one that leads to the greatest discoveries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you embrace your specific knowledge, you start to see the world differently. You make connections others miss. You spot opportunities that others overlook.
It's about going deep.
Yeah.
Becoming more and more valuable in your own unique way. And as you do that, as you start taking action, that's where accountability comes in.
Right. So owning your decisions, your actions.
Yeah.
Even when things get a little messy.
Exactly. It's about stepping up and saying, yeah, this is on me.
Not just when things go wrong, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's also about owning your successes, building that reputation. Remember that story Naval tells about taking a catering job? He ended up having to serve food to his old high school classmates.
Oh, man, talk about humbling.
Right. But he talks about how that experience, as awkward as it was, it fueled his drive even more.
Wow. Yeah, it's like you got to embrace those moments of oof. They can really push you further.
Totally. They're like fuel for the fire.
Yeah.
And by embracing that accountability, you show the world, hey, I'm serious about this.
Hmm.
You learn from the missteps. You build resilience. And that, my friend, is invaluable in the long run.
It's like you're building up that muscle of, I got this, even when things get tough, which I guess leads us to leverage, right? Because it's not just about working hard, it's
Yeah.
about working smart.
100%.
Yeah.
And, Naval talks about leverage in such a cool way. It's not just about financial stuff or investing, though that's part of it. It's about using tools, systems, even other people's expertise to amplify what you're doing.
He has that great line, learn to sell, learn to build. If
Yeah.
you can do both, you will be unstoppable.
Exactly. And then there's that whole thing he talks about, ordering around robot armies through code. Blew my mind when I first heard that.
Right. Like you can build something once, let's say a piece of software, an online course, and then it can work for you 24/7, reaching a global audience. You don't have to like physically be there doing the same thing over and over. That's next level leverage for sure.
It really is. And that brings us to what might be the most crucial element in all of this. Judgment.
Because you could have the best tools, the knowledge, but if you're making poor decisions, it can all go south pretty fast.
You hit the nail on the head. Judgment is about making sound choices, especially when you're faced with uncertainty. And that's where experience comes in, learning from mistakes, but also knowing how to manage your emotions in the process.
So it's not just about being book smart. You need that like gut feeling too, knowing the right moves, even when it's not obvious.
You got it. Naval talks a lot about learning from history, studying successful people, developing those mental models that help you assess risk, weigh potential outcomes. It's about making choices that align with your long-term goals, not just short-term wins.
And this is where it gets really interesting, don't you think? Because when you have leverage, good judgment becomes even more crucial.
Right.
It's like, I don't know, the difference between steering a sailboat versus captaining like a huge cargo ship.
Exactly. Higher stakes, bigger impact. And it connects to why Naval puts so much emphasis on authenticity. He says that trying to be someone you're not, it's not only exhausting, but it's also a recipe for mediocrity.
So in a world obsessed with hustle culture and all that, he's saying, hey, chill out, be yourself.
In a way, yeah. Because when you try to force yourself into someone else's mold, you're automatically entering this crowded competition.
Yeah.
But when you embrace your own unique strengths, your quirks, your interests, that's when you carve out a space where you're naturally the best.
It's like that saying, be yourself, everyone else is already taken. But how does that actually play into building wealth?
Because it allows you to tap into work that feels more like play. Something you do even if you aren't getting paid. That genuine passion, that energy, it shines through. It attracts the right opportunities, the right people. And that brings us to something that's often overlooked. The power of no.
So we're talking about finding that sweet spot, right? Where our passions and our skills align and we're being our authentic selves. But realistically, there are going to be times when, like, shiny objects distract us. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's a constant balancing act.
Yeah. And we might be tempted to, like, chase those opportunities that don't really fit or say yes when we should be saying no.
It's that internal tug of war, for sure. And mastering the art of no is so crucial, especially when you're serious about building that lasting wealth.
Because spreading yourself too thin, that can actually hold you back from, like, the real good stuff.
Exactly. Think about it. When you're constantly saying yes to every meeting, every project, every demand on your time, you're essentially saying no to something else.
Okay, yeah.
You're saying no to focusing on your unique strengths, to deepening your knowledge, to nurturing the projects that have the most potential.
It's like, I don't know, trying to run a marathon, but you're carrying a backpack full of rocks.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
You might keep going for a while, but you're definitely not hitting your peak performance.
Not even close. And this actually reminds me of something else Naval talks about, that product market founder fit.
Oh, yeah. So important.
It's like finding that sweet spot where your passion and skills line up with what people actually want.
Exactly. It's not enough to just be good at something.
Yeah.
There has to be demand for it, right?
Yeah.
People who value what you bring to the table and are willing to pay for it.
Right, because you could bake the most amazing cake in the world, but if everyone's going gluten-free...
It's going to be hard to sell. You need that market fit.
Totally. Okay, so we've got specific knowledge, accountability, leverage, judgment, authenticity, and the power of no. Wow, that's a lot. But there's one more piece, right? Naval's famous phrase, productize yourself.
Ah, yes. It's such a simple phrase, but it's so profound when you really think about it.
Yeah, break that down for me.
It's about recognizing the value of your unique skills, experiences, perspectives. treating them like valuable assets.
Okay.
And then you find creative ways to package them, to solve problems, to create value.
So it's like you figure out your superpower and then you share it with the world.
Exactly. And it can take so many forms. It's not just about physical products. It could be a blog, online courses, consulting, writing a book, building an app, you name it.
So many possibilities. It's like becoming an entrepreneur of your own life.
That's a great way to put it. And to help with that, Naval has this exercise he recommends. Identifying your 3 hobbies.
3 hobbies. Okay.
One that makes you money, one that keeps you fit, and one that makes you smarter.
I love that. It's about finding joy, purpose, and growth in all areas of life.
Exactly. Wealth isn't just about the money. It's about living a life that's fulfilling, a life that feels meaningful, a life that's truly aligned with your values.
Yeah.
And on that note, we've covered a ton today. But before we wrap up, one final thought-provoking point to leave you with. We talk about taking risks, pursuing passions, building for the long term. But how do we actually handle the uncertainty that comes with all of that? Life throws curveballs, right?
That's the million-dollar question. We rarely have all the answers. Things change, and we have to adapt.
Right. And this is where a concept like the Kelly criterion comes in.
The what?
Kelly criterion. It's this mathematical formula investors use to figure out how much to bet based on their edge, their risk tolerance.
So it's about assessing the potential upside and downside.
Exactly, how much to put on the line. And while it's mainly used in finance, the underlying idea applies to so many areas of life. Think about it. Are you pursuing opportunities where the potential rewards outweigh the risks? Are you being smart, not putting all your eggs in one basket?
Calculated risks, not just jumping in blindly.
Exactly. And the key is there's no single right answer. It's
Yep.
about knowing yourself, your risk tolerance, your long-term goals, and making decisions that align with those.
It's a journey. You learn, adapt, and make adjustments along the way.
Precisely. Your judgment sharpens over time, and you navigate those uncertainties with more and more confidence. And remember, building wealth, true wealth, goes beyond financial security. It's about having the freedom to pursue those passions, make a difference in the world, live a life that's meaningful on your own terms.
I love that. Such a powerful reminder. Well, on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those empowering words.
To your success.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep into the things that light you up.